Well, good day, my friends. We are heading a little northwest outside of Los Angeles today for our vlog. We're gonna go see where one of the greatest male action stars of all time called home towards the end of his life. Great Steve McQueen. Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all. It begins right now. Steve said that he liked Santa Paula, which is where we're going, because it reminded him of growing up in Missouri with his uncle. He ended up living in an airplane hangar for a while, had an airplane there and learned how to fly there. So that's where we're headed to now first. Start to get a little more country out here. You start seeing the farmlands and the nurseries. So we made our way over to the Santa Paula Airport. This is where Steve McQueen learned how to fly. See, he was raised without knowing who his father was and really without having a father. I did years ago a vlog on Steve McQueen when he was a teenager, how his stepfather threw him down a stairwell outside their house in Silver Lake and broke his arm, and then ended up sending Steve out to boarding school in Chino, which he would escape from constantly, come back, and they would send him back and forth. So he found out at some point that his father, or he was told that his father was a barnstormer, and so it got him interested in wanting to be a pilot. He ended up coming out here learning, I believe, 1978. It's like the last 2 years of his life. He had earned enough money from the Towering Inferno. He was basically just able to retire and not work if he didn't want to. And so he decided to take up flying. You can actually see some of the planes out there. And when he ended up dying, he died in 1980 living out here. Billy Graham came out and flew out to this airport to basically read the last rites to Steve McQueen and give him a Bible, because he was born again at the end of his life. So he made his home initially here in this airplane hangar because he had bought a property and it needed renovation pretty bad. So how cool is this to see where Steve McQueen would have lived? Yeah, so he had, at one point, he ended up getting married to Barbara Minty, who he had seen a picture of in like a modeling advertisement, and arranged for his business manager to arrange a meeting, and they kind of fell in love. And so she ended up moving out here and was living in this airplane hangar with him, and said that at the time he really made it home because they were here for like 2 years. So he would have all of his prized cars inside there. He would have his motorcycles. He had a yellow plane that was real famous because that's his wife Barbara would take a lot of photographs of him in it. And so he would reside in this big airplane hangar. So he lived in there, stored all of his stuff, had all of his memorabilia, his awards, and all that kind of stuff inside here waiting for their ranch house to be done. How cool is that? Pretty neat. Even if you look it up online, it's still called Steve McQueen's airplane hangar. Guy was just amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. He got his start, you know, I mentioned that he had that tumultuous life, not knowing who his father was, and then having like an abusive stepfather. When he was 16, he ended up basically leaving the boarding school and started traveling across the country for a year. And then he joined the military and then basically took off. Like he he was abandoning his agreement with the military. So when they brought him back, they put him in the Briggs for like 4 weeks, and during that he had to rip out asbestos, and they believe that that might be what actually ended up killing him. That or the suits that he would use for riding motorcycles and things like that. But he ended up dying of mesothelioma while living out here. It all started with, like, while he was here, he developed a cough before they moved to the farmhouse, and it just persistently got worse to where eventually we're gonna go out to the property that he lived at. Kind of cool just to, for me, just to see this old building and to know how much time he spent out here. He would, you know, he liked to run and work out, so he would work out constantly and run like 5 miles a day and everything. But when he dedicated himself to flying, he was out here flying all the time. And like I said, it was a famous yellow plane. They even say that one of his planes is still here on the property in one of the hangars. I came out today because I had read online an announcement a couple of years ago that on the first Sunday of every month they had a car show, and this was open, and this was the first Sunday, but it's not open. Kind of cool to see where he would make his home for those last years. I mean, the guy was epic. He got his start, you know, that's what I was gonna say, was he got his start in New York when he got out of the military. He served his years in the military and went to New York. Ended up in as an understudy in the production of A Hatful of Rain when Shelley Winters was in A Hatful of Rain. And that's when he met his first wife, Neil, and she was in the Pajama Game, so they would meet up after their shows every night, and only took a short number of weeks before they fell in love and ended up getting married. And then he got fired from his job, and he was hanging around complaining about everything all the time. She said one day she was so busy making a living for them, you know, paying for their rent by doing her show, that she put a TV dinner down on a plate and served him, and he knew what it was right away. She said he picked it up and threw it against the wall. So she said, I called my agent and said, you got to do something with him. I can't live like this. And the agent said, we know all about him. We don't want to deal with him. Hollywood's full of good-looking blondes that don't have an attitude problem. And then she said, like a week later, her agent called her and said he had just seen Steve on something in a movie, and said that his eyes popped right through the screen and said, take back everything I said, I'll sign him. And then he went on to make all those great movies like The Magnificent Seven and Great Escape, Cincinnati Kid, Thomas Crown Affair, Bullet, of course, my favorite. He didn't even want to do Bullet. People had to convince him to do it. But apparently this same airport, Leonard Nimoy used to have a plane here. Oh look, a plane's landing. Could have been Steve McQueen. Hey, yellow plane sighting like Steve's. Steve's stunt double, Bert, used to come out here and visit. He was Steve's stunt double all the way back to like The Great Escape when they filmed that in Germany. He used to come out and visit Steve here, and he said that the, you know, obviously the doors would be literally like right here. So literally the doors to open the hangar would be like right there. He said Steve would open both those doors every day, and he had an old ratty chair, and he'd pull it right out here, right out front, and he would sit there and drink his coffee for like the first 2 hours of the day, and was just a normal guy. He'd talk to anybody that was out here. Same with being in town. He loved to go into town because people just treated him like a normal guy. He could eat Mexican food and Chinese food and have his beer and just be a normal Joe. And as far as I could tell, he actually bought this at the time and was living there until the house was finished, and had an additional gigantic airplane hangar built out there where he would then move all of his stuff so it could just, you know, be right literally in the backyard. So we'll go see if we can get a closer look. This is where they were living at the end of his life. He ended up having mesothelioma so bad that he would fly to Mexico for months at a time for treatments. He was getting tumors all over his body. That's actually where he ended up passing away. He was in a hospital in Mexico. He died in his sleep. From what I read, his wife Barbara kept the place for a long time and then lost it to foreclosure. I believe she was trying to sell it for years and just nobody ever bought it. This mailbox right here on the end was his, and his wife would say that he loved to wake up every day and come out here and walk out to the mailbox and get his mail. I'm just gonna see if we can see his house that he married Barbara in. There's the airplane hangar, and there's the house that he married Barbara in that they renovated. A lot of their photos from her book were taken out there at that house. I don't want to trespass, so that's about the best view I can give you. But there's the airplane hangar right there. Barbara said they used to go out there and watch TV, and he liked to watch Fantasy Island and Love Boat. Steve McQueen's last airplane hangar. Well, we saw what we could see. Now we're driving out the same road that Steve would have walked out to collect that mail, and where he would have made his last home for the last couple of months of his life, last year of his life. That's it. Steve McQueen, the legend, was gone. Scattered, ashes scattered from the very plane that he would go out and fly, that yellow plane. Not sure where that is. I don't know if his son Chad has that. Chad McQueen, who's a race car driver and had a bit part in Karate Kid. We always love him. He's the only one, to my knowledge, I don't know, I haven't seen the new season of Cobra Kai. Only one that they were not able to get back that I know of. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Go watch some Steve McQueen. Guy was amazing. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye. Because in the movies, the king of cool never dies.